Now, some of Evan Gershkovich's colleagues at the Wall Street Journal started a public campaign pressing for his freedom. That includes the Deputy Bureau Chief for the Middle East, Shyandi Raice, who tweeted last week, "This Passover, please consider setting a place at your Seder table for Evan Gershkovich. As you celebrate freedom, join us in demanding freedom for Evan." And joining us now from here in Tel Aviv is Shyandi Raice, Deputy Bureau Chief for the Middle East for the Journal. Shyandi, first of all, let me ask you, it's not clear, whose idea was this about the Passover, Pesach Seder? Was that your idea?
I wish I could take credit for it. It wasn't my idea. We, a bunch of Evan's colleagues, we have a WhatsApp group, and we've all been just kind of spitting out ideas here and there. And one of my colleagues said, my wife and I decided that we're going to set a place for Evan at our Seder, and others should think about doing the same. And then we should post pictures afterwards, with the hashtag that we've created, I Stand With Evan. And I and some others said we should get people to do that now. And so we worked on the graphic that you see, and we just started posting it. This was totally like just a bunch of his colleagues getting together and thinking, what can we do? And obviously, I'm sure most of your viewers know that this has echoes with the movement to free Soviet Jewry, where this was a practice that became very common in the 80s as part of sort of raising awareness about the plight of Soviet Jews who were trying to leave and weren't allowed to, the refuseniks. And so there's a lot of sort of resonance, I think, with this specific case, because obviously Evan's parents were Soviet Jews who left and came to New Jersey, where he was raised, and he's now the son of Soviet Jews who's in a Russian prison.
Right. So let's talk about now the response to this campaign. I've been seeing, certainly just on social media, but maybe give us a broad, because it really, as you said, perhaps touched a nerve, and we've seen certainly among the Jewish community, a very impressive response.
It's been beautiful, and all my colleagues, Jewish and non-Jewish, have been really touched by what we've seen. Just people far and wide that we don't know and, have no connection to the Wall Street Journal have been posting pictures of a seat that they saved for Evan. We've gotten just all sorts of really beautiful pictures and messages, and it's been very touching for everybody. And yes, I think it hits a very deep nerve for people. The Jewish people don't have a great history in Russia. Obviously, there's been a history of Jews being imprisoned unfairly and unjustly. And, sadly, Evan is now part of this tradition. He is completely and totally innocent of these ridiculous charges, and we want to see him come home as soon as possible.
Right. About your thing about it touching a nerve in that reminding of the past, the prisoners of Zion, the Jews who tried to either assert their Jewishness or leave the Soviet Union. One of the interesting responses is Rabbi Pinchas Goldschmidt, the former chief rabbi in Moscow, who's been on the show. He tweeted a couple of tweets in response. One of them is, he just happened to be Jewish, right? Now, there has been a lot of speculation that definitely Evan's Russian roots may have played a factor in him being targeted this way. I mean, what do you think about that? Perhaps his Jewish roots as well being a factor here?
I'm not an expert on Russia, so it's really hard for me to say. I did see Rabbi Goldschmidt's tweet. I asked some colleagues of mine who cover Russia what they thought about the tweet, and they didn't think that was really what was going on. I think that probably what's at play here is some larger geopolitical games in terms of something that the CNN reporter was saying, what you aired earlier about this potentially being more akin to a hostage situation, where Russia is hoping to extract concessions from the U.S., probably hoping to get some sort of prisoner swap out of this. We do know that Evan had been followed for a while. Probable that other journalists were also being followed. So I think that the Russians wanted a journalist. They wanted an American journalist, and Evan was very unlucky.
Well, let's pick up on
I don't know.
Right, let's pick up on that point, journalists, because we've seen Russia, this hostage situation. Some may bring up the Brittany Griner situation, but he is the first journalist arrested in this manner since the end of the Cold War. What does that say about journalists trying to still work in Russia?
It says that Russia isn't interested in allowing a free press, and that they are just continuing to shut down any voice that is at odds with the story that Putin is trying to tell. It's very sad for the Russian people, because the story that Evan was trying to tell was the story of the Russian people. He had a great love for Russia and felt a deep connection, and he wanted to go there so he could tell their story truthfully and honestly to the world. And by doing this, Russia just ensures that that story is never going to be told to the world.
All right. Well, of course, Pesach, or Passover for Jews, is also called the holiday of freedom. And we certainly hope that Evan Gershkovich will find his freedom soon, and the situation will not drag out. Shyandi Raice, the Deputy Bureau Chief for the Middle East for the Wall Street Journal, thank you for joining us on I-24 News.
Thank you.